Hey guys, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, home of all things stock, investment, and personal finance related. Now for today's video, we're going to be welcoming back the CEO of Bitfarms, Geoff Morphy, to give us an update not only on their Q3 results, but also on their operations in South America in light of the big election news that we just saw out of Argentina. Now before we get into all that, please take a second, hit the like button, you guys. It's a big help to myself and the channel. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to join. And let me know in the comment section below if you're currently holding shares of Bitfarms, what your thoughts are on their strategy and current operations, and your outlook for next year's halving event. Now with that being said, let's get into today's interview. Okay guys, so that's right. Today's video, we've got Geoff Morphy, who's the president and CEO of Bitfarms. Geoff is the man of the hour this week. They've just announced some massive news in regards to their fleet upgrade. They came out with some big news last week as well. Plus, we've got the whole Argentina situation to cover. So Geoff, a lot to talk about today, but thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Bryce. It's good to be back. And yes, as much as you call me the man of the hour, and that's very complimentary, it was a real team effort. And I'm really proud of what the Bitfarms team was able to do to put these multiple deals together. They're really performing.
Yeah, most definitely. And for full disclosure, you guys, this is not financial advice. Bitfarms is my second biggest position in the mining space. Hold long shares and call options. So we'll see. That may become my biggest position soon here, Geoff, but it depends if we have more days like yesterday. Now, the Bitfarms shares have been absolutely rocking this week, which is great to see. We're starting to see a bit of a disconnect between the miners and the price of Bitcoin. That seems to have kind of turned around. I put these questions together prior to this week's announcements, so we're going to start out with some Argentina-based questions, and then we'll move into the fleet a little bit later. So first one for you, Geoff. I think by now most people are pretty familiar with Bitfarms and your operations, but can you give us just kind of the elevator pitch of what you guys do?
Sure. We're 6 years old. We're really 100% into Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining. We're vertically integrated. We've taken that approach right from the beginning. So we've been very much a leader as a pure play Bitcoin mining company and very, very much vertically integrated. We've grown from a few sites in Quebec, sort of 4 or 5 years ago, to now being well over 10 times larger than that, and 11 farms in 4 countries. Diversification is something that we think is important with Bitcoin and with the mining environment and with everything else going on. We think that's also a way to reduce risk. So, and we continue to primarily be powered by hydro, renewable energy, which I think is another differentiation point for us.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. Now, you talked about geographic diversification, and it's interesting because for people who've watched your story for quite some time, that was almost viewed as a risk at the start, and that in my own mind too. And now it's really proven to be quite an opportunity. So a couple things kind of happened last week. You announced a 6-month power agreement for 2.1 cents per kilowatt hour, which is absolutely the lowest I've seen in the industry. So I wanted to start there. How were you able to get that price? What does it mean for Bitfarms? And are we going to continue to see rates like that post 6 months?
Well, Argentina, we have our facility in Rio Cuarto. We've got a great relationship with the power producer there, and the contract, it's held in SA. It's a very well-known, they've got multiple utility grade sites where most of their power goes to the grid. So highly reliable. And they're also big into gas trading because natural gas is a big source of energy in Argentina. It's plentiful, and it's really unable to get it out of there. They don't have LNG terminals. It's a long way from the rest of the world that's consumers of natural gas, and their pipeline network is really pretty much domestic. So they recently upgraded the pipeline connections between really the source of energy and the power plant. We are located right beside the power plant. We actually have a lease on the back lot of that power plant. And as we go into the summer period in Argentina, which starts October 1st, their summer period is considered 7 months. And during that period, they don't consume a lot of natural gas. So they have far more supply than demand. And we expected low cost, but basically off the spot rate. And we were seeing low twos in October. And then we started talking, and they said, we think we can get you a 6-month fully hedged contract at the same level. And as we went into the Argentine election, which was a bit of a face-off and certainly grabbing international headlines, we thought, perfect, if we can lock this in, we know what we're getting, we know we have the election, we don't know the results of that. So we did it, I think, 4 days ahead of the election results, and we feel really good about it. We've got 23% of our power now in our production that is at 2.1 cents, at least for the next sort of 6 months. And then we'll go back into some higher rates, the winter rates, which we were about 3.5 cents. We gave market guidance that we'd be about 3 cents average for the year. I think now we're seeing that it should be a bit lower than that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was cringing when you were talking about pipeline and LNG terminal problems here in Canada. That's close to my home problems as well. Now, Geoff, phenomenal that you were able to lock in that rate. You alluded to the election, and that really was, I think, a big, like you said, received worldwide recognition, a big catalyst for the Bitcoin community overall. So we've now got someone in there who's talking about getting rid of the central bank, using Bitcoin almost as we're seeing in some other countries around the world. What does that mean for you guys as kind of the home team in Argentina?
Yes, it was quite the win for Milei, and like the results were barely out, and Bitcoin price started to move up. So it was amazing seeing the focus on Argentina and those election results and what they could do to global Bitcoin markets. As I think I said on the last time I was on with you, Bryce, that we managed to get the first facility, about a quarter of it, up and running. We're running about 54 megawatts right there. We got the good energy costs, and then we decided to take our foot off the throttle in Argentina until we knew what the election results are. We now know what the election results are, but there's some pretty radical, fundamental changes that are being promised there. So I think we're happy to have alternative growth plans now and watch what happens there. But yes, it looks very promising for Bitcoin and what's happening there. In fact, pre-election, they were talking about government going into some of its own mining. So I think all of that and the acceptance of Bitcoin, certainly when you're in a country with 142% inflation, people are looking at how to preserve their wealth, and cryptocurrencies are one that they are very familiar with.
Yeah.
So I think this represents opportunities for later in 2024 and 2025. We'll just see how things unfold for the time being.
Okay, so just so I'm hearing you correctly, I think you quoted about 23% of your hash rates down there. You'll approximately stay in that kind of quarter of your operations range until you see how things shake out?
Well, it's not going to stay at that quarter-ish very long with our expansion plans announced earlier this week. We just announced to the market that we're going to go from 6.3 corporate exahash to 12 exahash by June 30th of next year, largely in Paraguay, but also a fair bit of upgrade going on in Quebec. So that 23% will go down, but we have all this exciting news where our efficiencies and our production based on plug-and-play additions in Quebec and filling out our development plan in Paraguay is really the super exciting news right now.
It sure is, and what a perfect transition you've made for us. So let's get right into that news now that we've talked about South America. Absolutely massive development, really drove share price in a big way yesterday and today. So the fleet upgrade, I know this has been on people's mind for quite some time going into halving. Tell us what you're doing.
Yeah, we were getting criticized for having a fleet efficiency of about 35 watts per terahash for the fleet, primarily on the back of some 2, 3, 4-year-old M30, M31 series miners, pretty much all plugged in Quebec and our 10 megawatt facility in Paraguay. And we were just looking for the right opportunities for those upgrades. But as I said publicly, for the last 2+ years, the prices for equipment have just been too high. They're manufacturing too many of these miners to justify that type of price. And we just had to be disciplined and patient. And as we got closer to the halving, sure enough, the miner manufacturers, to be able to sell product, generate revenues, have come out with new generation miners that are just that much more efficient, that much more productive, and the price was right. So we heard a fair bit of fanfare for this new S21 from Bitmain, and when we dug into it, we heard there was a sister type of product called the T21 that, well, the efficiency wasn't quite as good. It's the first miner that Bitmain has ever done that has sort of dual settings on it, a normal power setting and a high power setting. And we started looking at the high power setting that go like 233 watts per terahash. We got excited, and like $14 per terahash is what we paid for the order, and that's at normal mode. But if you look at high power mode, which we plan to set it in, it's more like $11.33, I think it is, per terahash. Super good price. And we have an initial order plus something new in the industry, as far as Bitmain is concerned, an option. So we have a pile of new machines that are coming in that we've raised money for and all covered for the initial order, plus 28,000 miners that we have an option on at the same price for the second half of next year. So as long as economics and the prognosis looks good after the halving, we have our whole development track figured out for next year at great prices. So we are super excited about this, and really we're going to move our fleet efficiencies, as I said, from like 35 to 25 watts per terahash, and production is almost a double. So we're really happy.
As am I, as a shareholder, and I would say the patience definitely paid off, Geoff. So kudos to you and the team there. Now, this is just a question off the top of my head. Is there any downside to, I don't know if it would be called overclocking, but using the high power mode? Does it reduce life expectancy, or is it pretty much made to do that?
Well, that's the nice thing about this, and it's a really solid question. Every other time that you buy a miner, if you want to overclock, you have to basically replace the factory firmware with third-party firmware to be able to do that. And that instantly voids your warranty. And it also, if you push it too hard, and you can really push, some of this firmware really allows you to push the machines really high. But if you do, yeah, you really run the risk of burning the thing out prematurely. And these are expensive. So we've never pushed them right to their limits, but we have pushed them in the past. But with this miner, they said it's the first time that a manufacturer has said, we're gonna have two power modes, and you can switch it, and it's all under warranty. So it's designed to operate on the high power mode, and that's where we plan to take it. All the machines that are coming in, and it's fully warranted. We have basically layouts within our existing farms that are very energy dense already. And it's actually perfect for bringing the T21 in to replace with the M30 and M31s. Like, yes, we've had to change the voltage to crank it up, and the orders in place for that, and that's just part of an infrastructure upgrade. But really with that, it's just plug and play. So that's what makes this so attractive, is that we basically double our hash rate without having to build a lot of new infrastructure. It's already there. So we will just go systematically from one farm to the next, to the next, to the next. The orders come in. They're going to come in sort of March, April, and May, pretty much in equal batches, and we're just going to plug them in. So it's going to happen very fast and very cost effectively.
Yeah, it seems like a great plan. I like the simple approach, and it's funny when you guys tweeted out the $60 million raise there last week. I'd commented and said we need to get some new 21s. So I was assuming S21, and then I had to reread the article, and I was like, a T21, what is this? So very interesting, very cool. I would also say it's not just mining rigs that wear out if you run them hard. My truck and my dirt bike and all the rest do too, my lawnmower, everything. Yeah. But anyways, in all seriousness, so you said most of those are going into Quebec and Paraguay, correct?
That's right. For the firm order, yes, we are doing 7 of 8 of our farms in Quebec. So those are really the plug and play situations. That's really easy. I think there's 46,000 M30, M31 miners that will be pulled out of production there and replaced. And then we in Paraguay, we have talked about in the past our new Paso Pe development site. We've talked about 20 megawatts of being micro BT hydro miners, but we hadn't announced the 30 megawatts. We'd said it was going to be air cooled. And frankly, with the prices in the past being high, we didn't know whether it might go to hosting or self-mining, as they call it. And with these prices, we were able to do it ourselves with the self-mining approach. So that's what we're doing. And we are also in the final throes of negotiating an increase to the power purchase agreement there. It's not completely done yet, but we are expecting that that site will go from 50 megawatts to 70 megawatts very shortly. So we're actually moving our 30 megawatts of air cooled to 50 megawatts of air cooled, and all these T21s will go into to doing the 50 megawatts of air cooled there. So that is all going to be in the first half of next year. We had already given guidance that 50 megawatts would be up and running sort of for the end of March, or at least the infrastructure would be ready. We'd start some production. So probably second half of March, early April, we will have the hydro miners running. At least we sure hope they will be. And all these T21s there. And then because of the expansion, we've had to order more cabling, some more transformers. There's lead time to that. So really that 20 megawatt expansion will be done in the second quarter of next year. And then we've also announced that we had bought a power purchase agreement for a place called Iguazu. That is a 100 megawatt contract. We plan to put the same sort of type of transformer in there, an 80 megawatt transformer, 70 megawatts of production capacity. And yes, on the option that we've secured, some of those miners will go into Iguazu in the second half of next year. So there's a lot of information there. There's a lot of moving parts, but it's all planned out. It's 2024 is planned. It's ready. We've got halving in there, and all this thing sort of layers in over the halving. So we can now honestly say we're halving ready and post-halving ready.
Yeah, phenomenal. I appreciate the detailed walkthrough, because there is a lot of moving parts and timelines and purchase orders and all the rest. And those old rigs you're unplugging, are those just scrap at this point, or is there any salvage value holding on to them?
They are worth about $9 to $12 million right now, so they're not scrap. Okay. And that represents more flexibility for next year. If people go to our website and pull down the presentation, they will see that for the first half of next year, the plan is from 6.3 exahash to 12, and that's based on the Paso Pe site and the Quebec upgrades. The option when we get into the second half allows us to go to 17 exahash. Now, with all those M30s and M31s getting unplugged, that represents a further opportunity that if we can find a new home, and what we have in mind is trying to find one of these deregulated parts of the U.S., probably not Texas, where there's curtailment, where you get paid for curtailing and selling back power. But we can redeploy these M30s and M31s into a site like that. Maybe it's flare gas. We're looking for opportunities. But once again, it provides a very low-cost way to put those things back into action and take it from 17 to 21 exahash in probably in the second half of next year.
Wow. Yeah, it's just crazy seeing these numbers continue to grow. And your segues today, Geoff, are spot on. So talking about the U.S. now, this was actually a subscriber question. He said, or he or she said they're an investor. It has to do with your Washington site. So I'm just going to read it. So you have about 600 petahash there. Do you have any concerns in that area of the country about grid stability that have maybe prevented other companies or expansion there, like we've seen in places like Texas or Georgia?
No, we don't have any problem with grid stability there. It's very stable. In fact, the infrastructure there throughout the whole area was built decades ago for Alcoa and the smelting industry. So the capacity's there. In fact, it's the one site that we have where it's uninterruptible. We don't have to deal with curtailment there at all. It's fully reliable. I think we've got 20 some odd megawatts there, highly reliable. What has made that area not a focus for future expansion, or at least substantial, is that they pushed up the hydro rates on us. So they have gone from the lowest hydro rates to amongst some of the highest hydro rates we have. So we see better opportunities elsewhere in the United States. And I think probably the Midwest, some of the deregulated markets there make the most sense for us. Not Texas, not Georgia, but in that area. And I know others have sort of focused their sights on that area too. But that's what we're looking for. We can do something neat and cost effective with the nice returns and continue to exercise our discipline and capital adjudication, basically, in terms of where to put capital, then hopefully we can make something work there.
Sure. And good question too, from the audience. Now, last one, and then I'll kind of put it over for closing remarks here. Any change to your HODL strategy as your exahash, your efficiency, your power rates, all these variables have changed? Is it still kind of sell what you need, or is it at this point just get your hands on as many Bitcoin as possible?
In a rising Bitcoin environment, which certainly looks like we're back into, being able to keep some of the mined Bitcoin that we do on your balance sheet is advantageous. It's another asset class. We like that. But we've really modified that, and I think we're a leader in this area. We've gone to something called a synthetic HODL. So not only do we try to push aside some Bitcoin on our balance sheet, but synthetic HODL is a program of puts and calls. And what it does is it for very low cost, you can try to create a floor to the Bitcoin prices. So if Bitcoin prices fall, you're not going to feel the full economic impact of that because of the floors that we've got. But on the calls, if Bitcoin starts going up, then we can very much take advantage of a much more aggressive HODL accumulation strategy through these options. And we don't have full authority to really risk the balance sheet. The board's only allowed us to go so far, but we are able to what we call asymmetrical upside. So protect on the downside and get unusually large increases on the upside should Bitcoin prices start going up. So we've gone sort of to the HODL strategy and then beyond. And we haven't been able to show the results of that because it's a relatively new program, but we're very excited about it. And I think that represents another sort of margin and profit center for us into the future. It's exciting to watch that develop.
No kidding. Asymmetric risk reward. That's what we're all looking for here as retail investors. That's awesome. There's such a amount of information here, Geoff. I love having you on. We'll continue to do this. A lot of exciting stuff coming in the new year. I'll kick it back to you. Any closing thoughts or things maybe we missed?
Well, we covered a lot of territory, and as things continue to develop, and I think we'll try to get on again to talk about our deployment strategies and how things are coming along. But we're very excited about what this is going to do for the company, and certainly the shareholders, both institutional and retail, have really liked what we've done. Unfortunately, it's been overdue, but we had to wait for the right moment. We're striking now, and I think everything that we've been working on over the last year is now announced, and we're out with it. Now it's execution. So let's talk about execution next time we gotta get online. You're the first sort of podcast and that I've done since these big announcements. So I'm glad we could do it together, Bryce.
As am I. No, you're always welcome here. You're a great guest, and I enjoy the visit. So thanks for the update. Great work to you and the team. You've got my full shareholder support there, Geoff, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much, Bryce.
Bye.